Welcome back to On Texas Football. I'm Jeff Howe, joined by Gerry Hamilton and Bobby Burton. Going to be talking about the interior defensive line today based on early camp impressions, what we've seen, what we've heard, and what we expect from Texas the rest of the way, and what we want to see from Kenny Baker's group. This edition of On Texas Football brought to you by Dr. Brett Robin. We'll tell you more about Dr. Robin here later in the show. But, Bobby, I want to start with you first. Pete Kwiatkowski came out during the coordinator availability before the start of camp and said he felt like they were deeper at interior defensive line than they were last year. Now, you lose two top 100 picks. You lose two quality depth pieces like Jermaine Lole and Bill Norton. It's hard to imagine how they're deeper, but I don't necessarily disagree with him after what we've seen these first 2 days.
I mean, look, Alex January was running it at 5 last year. He ended up being the 5th defensive tackle, right? He may still be in that 4 to 5 range, but he's appreciably better. I mean, he may move all the way up to 1 or 2 in the pecking order. I'm not shortchanging him there. But what I see and what PK has said is something that really Gerry Hamilton, hat tip to Jerry, has been echoing all off season. And that's that Texas is not just strong in the 1s and 2s. They're going deep. They can go 6, 7 if you start bringing in those true freshmen. They do have more true freshmen now. And I think it would also go to say, like, Sadir Mitchell last year just wasn't ready at certain times to play extended snaps. So they couldn't even count on him as a depth piece. Whereas now they feel like maybe a Josiah Sharma might be able to handle that a little bit differently than a Sadir Mitchell could, right? Because even though he's as big and all that stuff, he's a little bit more prepared maybe mentally and or physically to handle that. So I get it. And I would say this about that with Pete Kwiatkowski. Kwiatkowski's not a big talker.
Right.
Yeah. He's not, when he says something, he genuinely means it. You know, he's not well, we're going to be great. He's not a rah-rah type speaker. And so when he says that, I don't take things he says lightly at all.
Yep. Jerry, where are you at on the overall depth? Because I know you and I think it was the first practice, that Wednesday practice, you and I watched the interior D-line for a few periods.
I felt like I was on Love Island watching the defensive line on the interior. I really like the group because, look, it's one thing to have Cole Brevard, who is a fifth-year guy over the ball who's built like a square, right? You know what he's going to do. He's not going to have the first, second, third, or fourth most tackles or tackles for loss amongst the defensive linemen, but his role is going to be so important. And, then we're talking about Alex January. Is he going to be a 1 or is he going to be a 2? Well, Murad Watts was a freshman All-American. He had 30 tackles in the ACC. As a freshman, in the last few games, he was the guy people game planned against.
He looked good in practice too, Jerry.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So how good is he actually going to be in year 2? I mean, as he adds – I hate to call it his bag, but his defensive line bag, when he's actually can be more of a disruptor, when he's got better pieces around him. Travis Shaw, I think we just kind of skip over him too much. He's got 55 career tackles in 3 years as a defensive lineman in college football. He is more productive through 3 years than Vernon Broughton was as a college player. Like he's got productivity, and he is a massive guy that can play the run. Levon Johnson was not practicing. He's got a left ankle. He had a big taping on his left ankle. He was productive when he was healthy at Maryland, and it wasn't much last year, but for 6 games, averaged 2.5 tackles a game in 6 games at Maryland when he was healthy last year. Then Josiah Sharma should make a lot of money playing football. Then there's Myron Charles. I mean, you just kind of go down the line here. Hero Canoe from Ohio State. He's not even getting talked about much, and he's running with the 1s and 2s in the practices while the other newcomers are still working their way up the depth chart. Texas definitely has not just more depth than last year, they have more talent than last year. And does that mean they're absolutely going to be better in every way? No, but they're going to be better against the run. There's no doubt in my mind.
Are they more? Here's my question on that is, and Jeff, I know you watch them like I did and Jerry did, et cetera. Are they more talented than last year,
yes,
or just to have better depth? And I ask this for Jeff because, look, I think Alfred Collins is as talented as they come. He really is. Now, that doesn't mean his output always matched the talent. We know that. I mean, now his senior year and late in his junior year, he came on. I see a guy like Murad Watson and Alex Jr. They're extremely talented guys, but where are they in their their stage of development? Because Jerry, even you mentioned Murad Watson, for example. Well, he's a freshman All-American, not a national All-American, right? And so where are they? Even though they're talent, and I could argue that they will be more talented overall, and I think they are, but I don't know if they're at that stage of development where all that talent can shine through. Maybe Travis Shaw changes my mind and Cole Brevard changed my mind on that, Jeff.
Well, here's where I'm at on this. I think if we go back to this time last year, we were hoping that Alfred Collins would take that step. We were hoping that Vernon Broughton would take a step forward. But we didn't know, it wasn't a sure thing that they were going to do that. I mean, and if you look at the trajectory for both, I mean, it wasn't until kind of midway through the year that we really saw Alfred Collins start to take off. Right around the Florida game, I think, for Alfred is when it seemed like it flipped for him, and he really started that upward trajectory. But we knew that was in there. I don't know that they've got anybody that's got like a top 50 NFL draft pick type ceiling right now. But if you just start looking at the pieces and just comparing this year to last year, Bobby, the guy I'm glad you mentioned was Travis Shaw, because if you're comparing him to like that role Jermaine Lole was in last year, which I think they're similar from the standpoint that, hey, what is their body going to allow them to do? Can they hold up? Lole did, but if you compare Jermaine Lole to Travis Shaw physically and from a talent standpoint, there's no question you'd rather have Travis Shaw on your.
Oh, he's got him by 50. He's got him by 40 or 50 pounds.
Exactly. I think even when you look further down the roster, I think that Alex January and Josiah Sharma and Myron Charles are in a much better position to help Texas than, let's say, January and Sadir Mitchell and Melvin Hills were last year.
Yes, I think that's what you're talking about.
100%.
4, 5, 6, and 7, much better this year than last year. The challenge will be those first two. Can they match that production? I would say this too, and being there at the player availability on Thursday, Ethan Burke was asked who's been looking good at defensive tackle in the team periods that we're not allowed to see. Yeah. Obviously, first name out of his mouth was Travis Shaw. So Jeff, there you go for that.
Jerry, a lot of what we're talking about boils down to player development and getting the most out of guys. And you said this back in the spring, and I agree with it 100%, because if you go out to practice, you can really tell it. Bo Davis, the way his style of coaching and, the individual periods, what they focus on, it was really more kind of the Nick Saban two-gap stuff, kind of holding the point, let the linebackers go. Kenny Baker seems more about coaching disruption and pass rush. And when you watch the drills, you can tell that. And based on the product last year, you could see a lot of that.
Yeah, look, we a friend of the show, Nathan O'Neill, who trains a bunch of guys in the NFL for the draft prep. He knows Kenny Baker well, personally and as a coach. And when Kenny Baker was hired, I called him and said, "What's Texas getting?" He said, "A great pass rush coach." He said, "He's good in run game, as good as those guys." He said, "As good as anybody, but he's a great pass rush coach." Has great communication and teacher of technique. And I think you saw that last year with Texas. And that's why I'm so high on these guys, because Kenny Baker's 4 practices in with these guys. What's it going to be like by week 8? Because we saw the improvement from Alfred and Vernon. Lole just had to be healthy, right? But what's going to happen with Murad Watson in year 2 of college football?
Yeah.
Those are the things I look at with its second year coaching Alex January. What's that going to look like with Kenny? What's Josiah Sharma going to look like by week 9 with Kenny Baker?
Bobby, I want to go to Murad Watson real quick. And, he was a spring portal pickup. So, the learning curve has to get accelerated. But based on what you've seen, what do you feel like are realistic expectations for Murad Watson his first year at Texas?
I think, Jeff, if I could be wrong, but I think he'll be a rotational player, one of the first 4. So will he start? I think that's going to be decided in the next 3 weeks. I mean, I think Sark, not just Sark, because defense is really PK's, gambit. And PK has done a great job. And I would say along with Johnny Nanson's intro to the program, they've done a better job, I think, certainly last year, of rotating more guys in. Mm-hmm. And so when I think of Murad Watson, I don't really care if he's a starter or if he's that second group that comes in and still gets 25 to 35 snaps a game. But I think he's going to get that 25 to 35 snaps a game. I think you'll see Alex January get that number. I think you'll see Travis Shaw probably in the 20 to 30 snaps. So when I start thinking about Murad Watson right now, I think in that category, so they can maximize what they get out of him. The thing that I would go back to, and I tried to think of who does he remind me of? Murad Watson. Who does he remind me of? Cedric Woodard is a name that came up for me in the past from a body type. I know that's really reaching back, but he played several years in the league. And the thing about Cedric was he was always quicker than what people gave him credit for. Like when there was a pursuit drill, that first day we were out there, all the defensive tackles in the pursuit drill are almost 99% of the time they're last.
Yeah.
I mean, that's who they are, right? Not Murad Watson. He was third to last, which doesn't sound like a lot, like a big improvement. Yeah. But when you're beating a linebacker to the pursuit drill, you're pretty dang quick for being 300 plus pounds, dude.
Yeah.
And so what do I see him being? I see him as an interior disruptor. I do think he can hold the point of attack. I think he's a little bit more of a disruptor than a point of attack holder. And that's where I would ask Jerry in your feedback, Jeff, do y'all see him more as a hold the point guy or as a disruptor? Because that's I'm not sure yet until we get to see him actual in pads going after it.
I think he's going to develop into both.
Okay.
And I could be wrong, but that's just what. So here's what's interesting. While you guys were discussing this, I looked back, which I probably shouldn't be doing during a video, at the stats from this last season. If I told you that the Texas defensive tackles, and it was really 3.5-man rotation with Collins, Broughton, Lole, Bill Norton, right? And then you had Alex January, Tia Savea had a tackle for loss, 16.5 tackles for loss and 5.5 sacks last year. I think this Texas interior D line is going to better those numbers this year.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that because really Broughton and Collins were the two
That's
that were primary, and Lole and Norton did a lot. I mean, they were really good. I want to give them credit. But they were secondary players. They weren't necessarily frontline guys that last year.
Yeah. It's not going to surprise me if those numbers aren't eclipsed this year.
Lole and Norton made some hell of a big plays though last year.
Yes.
No doubt. Bill Norton with the goal line stop against Clemson in the playoff for sure. We'll get back to talking about D-line, but Bobby, real quick, let everybody know about Dr. Brett Robin.
Yeah, Dr. Brett Robin's been tackled by defensive tackles before. Yeah. Special thanks to Dr. Brett Robin at Austin Orthopedic Institute for sponsoring On Texas Football. Dr. Robin, the former Longhorn running back, knows what it takes to stay in the game, and he's here for athletes of all ages, specializing in musculoskeletal health. Dr. Robin treats joint pain and injuries with a conservative approach first, but also offers advanced surgical options, arthroscopic procedures, fracture management, total joint replacements, even if you need them. With convenient offices across Central Texas, Austin, Georgetown, and Killeen, Dr. Robin is accepting new patients. If you're looking for a top-notch orthopedic, give Dr. Robin a call, 512-856-1000, 512-856-1000. He knows how to help you get back and going to your active lifestyle and doing what you love. Again, that's Dr. Brett Robin, 512-856-1000.
Jerry, one guy we haven't talked about yet is Cole Brevard, and you look at how he's listed on the roster. He's listed at 6'3", which that might be a stretch.
Yeah.
The 346 is probably pretty accurate, but just a guy that's just built like a hunk of granite that's going to play over the ball for this defense.
Yeah, his calves weigh 90, so start there. Like that's 45 a calf. So we're starting at 90 and going from there. He's just a square, right? Yeah. It's just like just count the snap, how many snaps he's played in the Big Ten. And that's the thing with him is it's not going to be the tackles. It's going to be how many snaps has he played in the Big Ten. And now he's going to be at a team where he gets to rotate and play fresh more. At Purdue, he had to play tired a lot. He was oversnapped, if we can use a term like that. But I think that's going to be a beneficial thing for Cole Brevard, because the snaps that Texas asked him to play should all be 100% fresh snaps, or at least 90% fresh snaps. And that's a big difference for a guy who's hard to move.
And it's hard to gauge the value of that, too.
That's right.
I mean, you don't really know what he would look like if he had 30 snaps a game versus 60.
Yeah, we're about to find out. And it's going to be interesting to see, really. Can he become more of a mover of people if he's playing fresh more than just a hold the point of attack guy? I think Kenny Baker's going to ask him to move people more on this team than he has been asked to do in the past. That's going to be interesting to see what he brings in less snaps, but with max power and all those snaps.
Guys, could this D-line rotation, Jerry, you mentioned snap numbers. Could it be really similar to what we saw in 2022, where Coburn and Ojimo were your starters, but you had Sweat and Murphy playing a lot, Collins and Broughton kind of got whatever snap? I mean, you were legit. We look back at it now, you're legitimately 6 deep with NFL draft picks. And I'm not saying that's going to be this group, but I think it could be that just in terms of the snap distribution, where you're just running out 6 really good, fresh guys at all times.
Man, Jeff, you just made me think about how talented that group was.
Yeah, my thought process on that, and I do agree with that was a rare situation. I think it depends a little bit on how a Josiah Sharma and Murad Watson and Alex January come on. And the reason I say those three is those are the guys that are both either brand new in Sharma or in their second year of college ball in January and Watson. Those three come on, and then you add a Levon Johnson, a Hero Canoe to go with Travis Shaw. I think that there's possible they go 6 deep in draft picks. I just don't know that they're as far along in their development stage. That's what I was trying to talk about earlier.
Yeah.
Overall, the development stage, even then, if you remember, Broughton and Collins were 3 years into that year.
Right.
And they were 5th and 6th string, essentially. I look at it also and think about something else that when we were talking about the defensive line and Josiah Sharma. Jeff, you said something that I would take small exception with. You said they don't necessarily have a top 50 draft pick in that group. I would tell you that I think Josiah Sharma, there's 2 people he reminds me of, and I know Jerry uses his Sean Rogers. He reminds me of a young Tavondre Sweat.
Yeah.
A little bit better practice habits, I think, coming in than Tavondre.
Yeah.
I'll say that. So that's a positive. But physically, he's just a ginormous human being. I mean, Travis Shaw is a ginormous human being. Josiah Sharma's bigger than him. So I don't even know how to explain that to people that, I do think there's talent there. I'm worried about, and maybe I'm too worried, and I get that, and I've got a tendency for that at times, but I feel like that stage of development, by the end of this year, we're not going to be worried about that.
Right.
The first 6 games, when you go to Ohio State, when you play Florida, when you play Oklahoma in this first 6 games of this year, that's where my questions kind of, the alarm bells kind of, are they ready? And they know that really, and another thing is their jobs as defensive tackles. It's not to be the world beater, right? Everybody think, sometimes it's just to hold your lane and hold your block. And these young guys don't necessarily understand that to the degree that the older guys would, right? The older guys, I don't need to do too much. I need to do my job. Younger guys coming in where they used to wreck shop in high school or at Syracuse, et cetera, may be a tad different. That's all.
I agree with what you're saying, Bobby, 100%. And I think, Jerry, the best example of what Bobby's talking about is you go back and look at last year. Early on, we weren't really sure what Alex January's freshman year was going to produce. And then by the end, he's playing high leverage snaps in a college football playoff semifinal. Yeah. So I think that trajectory for Josiah Sharma, that's very achievable for him.
And even Myron now, because Myron Myron may have the best frame of all these guys, and he is very athletic. We're both those guys. If we want to have a lot of fun, let's just go ahead and cut the 2026 D-line show right now.
That will be fun.
Yeah. Let's just cut it now.
Bobby, as camp's gonna go on, we don't know if we'll get another look at this group up close until the season starts. But when this group rolls out against Ohio State, from a rotational standpoint, what do you expect it to look like, and how different do you think that's going to be from maybe the middle point, right around the Oklahoma game and then the A&M game to end the regular season?
I would say Alex January is going to be in there. I would say Travis Shaw is going to be in there. I would say Murad Watson is going to be in there. And then I think you start saying, okay, who's next? Is Hero Canoe going to stick a spot? What about Josiah Sharma?
Obviously, Cole Brevard.
Yeah, Cole Brevard will be in there among that 4 too. And so then you're looking at I'm interested, and I know y'all are too, in what LaVon Johnson can do.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't see him. His body shape looked good. I mean, he looked a little bigger than Jermaine Lole is who he looked like to me. Just a little bigger, you know? And so what kind of play? I mean, if he gets his ankle right and he's participating 2 weeks before practice, I'm at a loss for how they're going to play all of them, Jeff. I think you got to have, Jerry said Brevard. I think you're going to have to put Shaw in there because he's got size. I think January is going to play. I think Watson's going to play. I mean,
it's a long ways out to Florida. But if you don't see, because Florida's strength on the interior of the offensive line, you're going to see a lot of Brevard and Travis Shaw together in that game to say, all right, you think you're going to run it up inside with Jaden Ball? Try again. That's a long ways out, but I think we're going to see some combos like that depending on who they're playing, play a little bit more snaps against the run in the rotation.
Florida had some success running that inside zone against Texas, in part because Texas was not – I mean, that's not what Vernon Broughton's best at.
Right.
That's not what Alfred Collins is best at. Could change and put more emphasis or more priority for Florida to be able to throw the ball against Texas.
Jerry, Bob,
Florida's center guard are going to be really good in the
no
run.
doubt.
You got to have power against that power.
100%. As we wrap this up, two guys we haven't talked about, Lance Jackson, Justus Terry. We know they're working with the edge group. They're working with the interior group. The only problem with that, and it's our problem, it's not Texas' problem. The two practices we were at, as they were going to Kenny Baker's group, that was the time we were asked to leave the practice field. So we didn't get to see them working with that interior group. But Jerry, where do you realistically, are these guys probably maybe more edge guys and situationally interior? How do you see it playing out for them as freshmen?
I 100% think that's where they're at. I mean, the question around Justus Terry is, I think Lance Jackson's always going to be a 6'5", 275, 280-pound guy, right? Now, his frame actually may be bigger than Justus Terry's because he's a longer-arm guy. And Justus is probably closer to a max out than Lance is at the same time, which is now. The time is now. But, look, I think Justus is going to be that guy because he's so physical, right? He's going to be that 5 type of guy over his career that is going to, at the college games, be able to slide in and play 3. Once he gets to 285, 290, be a disruptive 3 that's strong enough to hold the point of attack. I think that's what he is. I love Lance Jackson as a big edge in the SEC. I mean, he just looks like the guys that Alabama and Georgia won a lot of games with. And I know they played 3-man fronts, but I just think that Lance Jackson's a 6'5", 280-pound big edge that can roll inside on third downs as his career moves along. And that versatility is why we should go ahead and cut the 26 D-line show now.
I particularly like Justus Terry as an interior pass rusher on big downs, on long down and distance.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. It's been great to get a look at that group, and we'll see what happens, not just when we get to the Ohio State game at the end of the month, but the middle of the season, the end of the season, and hopefully for another long run in the college football playoff. I need all of those guys to contribute, and they're deep, they're talented. We'll see how it plays out. Jerry, Bobby, thank you guys for the knowledge and expertise as always. Thank you to Matt behind the scenes for producing it. Thank you to Dr. Brett Robin for sponsoring it. If you're not a member over at ontexasfootball.com, make sure you get over there right now. Use the promo code OTFOG when you sign up. That's OTFOG. That'll get you 1 year of access at ontexasfootball.com for $39.95. You don't want to miss anything going on the website. Make sure you like this video and you're subscribed to the On Texas Football YouTube channel. That way, whether it's here on the channel or on the site, you're not missing anything in the run-up to the start of the regular season. For Matt, for Jerry, for Bobby, for everybody at ontexasfootball.com, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, hook 'em.